What's going on, world? Welcome back to another edition, Built by the Red Stick. We love all the love. We're glad y'all join us. We've got an impressive episode today. But as always, it's your boy Michael Oakley, Ronnie LaDuff, Built by the Red Stick, presented to you every Friday by Elevate Treatment and Legacy Center. Ronnie.
So we told them once.
We told them twice.
We told them twice. We coming out in the new year, heavy hitting, we banging, but today, I think we outdid ourselves today. Today, we have the one, the only, Dr. Khan. Now, you might have seen him on magazines. You might have seen him voted #1 psychiatrist in the state of Louisiana. He's your psychiatrist's favorite psychiatrist. And if you ever had the pleasure of seeing him as your psychiatrist, I guarantee you're doing good in life. So I want everybody to give Dr. Khan a Built by the Red Stick. Welcome. Welcome.
Thank you
Honored
for joining us.
by the exaggerations. Now I feel like I got overhyped.
Yes, sir.
Doc, first and foremost, let all the people know where you're at, where they can find you.
So my main base is I'm the medical director of Regions Behavioral Hospital.
Shout out Regions.
Yeah.
Whole regions.
Regions.
24-bed inpatient unit. If you have to go somewhere, I think everybody in town would agree. That's the place you go.
That's where I send everybody.
Yes, and if
That's where I
I
send
had a
everybody.
family member that needed psych help, hands down, they're going.
It's a beautiful facility too.
More than the actual building, it's my staff, man.
Yep.
Like, I mean, you go to so many places and you hear so many people that end up going inpatient somewhere and just saying it was a traumatic experience and they were scared and, it was, communication wasn't clear and everything. My staff is great. They make people feel cared for and loved, and that's the mission that they've had from the beginning.
Especially in the moment, like the moment of probably one of the biggest crises in their life. Like you are now being hospitalized for psychiatric substance. Y'all have a couple of beds dedicated towards substance detox, correct?
Or mix them.
Yeah. And so at this moment, we talked to Joy Plain on our episode, and she made the same comment about facilities. When you walk in and the staff, it doesn't matter if you have the Taj Mahal, the most beautiful facility on the coastline of California, if the staff isn't there to love you.
Absolutely. Like you said, man, people are at their lowest moment of their life probably.
Yep.
And the fact that, there's so many places, over time I've worked pretty much everywhere in Southeast Louisiana, coming up from New Orleans, working my way north. It's just, changing the culture of a place is difficult. But, I was really lucky that, I got in at the ground floor when it was opening at Regions. And the owner, who's no longer with us, Stephen Richardson.
Great man. He was a great man.
He was amazing.
Yep.
He instilled that, patients must be respected and loved. And, the staff there now that are managing it continue to carry that on. And that's the most important thing. Like without that, you don't get the results because the patients don't buy in. They don't trust you. They don't, feel like you're invested in their recovery. They don't want to be a number.
Yep.
And so in everything that I do, that's what I try and remember, having that empathy that, the person's not in front of you really because they want to be there. They don't want to be there. They'd rather be anywhere else.
The last place in the world they want to be.
Right. And so, carrying on that culture kind of, I felt there was a need. There's a lot of people doing substance abuse, and, we take care of that at Regions, and we have that Regions intensive outpatient program too, and we have the psych intensive outpatient program for more, chronically ill patients. But I felt there was this middle spot. There was a spot where, people that are our family, our neighbors, really needed to go to if they just had mental health issues.
Yep.
If they were facing depression or extreme grief, loss, trauma, like that, there was not this one program that would take care of regular folks, and so I opened Elemental Health. It's a high functioning intensive outpatient program where we do things the way it's supposed to be done by the book. Right. And then mixing in experience. So, we have fantastic clinicians who are specialists and have expertise in particular areas like trauma and DBT for borderline personality and grief and loss and, art therapy and music therapy.
That's awesome.
And we do it the way it's supposed to over a 6 to 8 week course. I handle the medication management if that's required. And we're really getting people that go back into society and are productive again. College students, housewives, doctors, lawyers, engineers, school teachers. These are the people that we're helping there at Elemental Health.
And it's so important that you say that because, like you said, there's always been this, especially when, I guess it was around the Affordable Care Act, where there really became a merge of the treatment of mental health and substance abuse together, and they just all became this, we're just putting them in all these different places. And so at a substance abuse primary facility, you would have some mental health patients come in where the counselors aren't equipped to deal with that. Right. And so now, because they had nowhere else to go, they're getting lost in the shuffle, but nothing's really happening to be able to help them.
Or it's not addressed. We get people that come out of 28-day treatment programs and, they're floridly bipolar or psychotic. And they're just not telling people because they don't want to get kicked out of their sober livings or out of residential. And so it's just unaddressed and they're keeping it quiet. And so, we get those at Regions and kind of tune up their meds and get them back on the recovery. Because with substance abuse, it's such a intertwined thing, right? Absolutely. I mean, it is true that nobody else wants the addicts. It's true. Like, medical is not going to take them on their floor to detox them unless it's like severe alcohol or benzo and they're going to die. And no other specialty is going to take them. So, but it makes sense for psychiatry to have it because there's so many bad things that lead to people using substances and so many bad things that come from being on substances, man. I mean, if you have a little bit of empathy of what that person's been going through, the things that they've had to do in their addiction or the things that led to their addiction, I think psychiatry is best equipped to deal with it.
So I had the pleasure of working with, I've always looked up to him, but Dr. Tommy Estes, and he always classified substance use, as a traumatic event in your life, and needing, even once you get off the substances, you still need to have the therapy for that traumatic event in itself, not just the therapy for what led you to the substances, but like you said, all the things that either A, we do, or B, that happens to us while we're ripping and running.
I was just thinking about the fact that I need therapy for being the first employee of Elemental being fired. That was a traumatic event in my life. But like I say, Doc, you did it very elegantly.
But that was of your own doing.
It was a little bit of out of my hands, but a little bit of I'm taking the blame.
I feel like we need to clarify. You weren't fired.
I've had the same argument with him so many times because he tries to tell everybody that I fired him from Elevate, but he left and went to work at Regions, which I'm okay. I encouraged it because I knew that your ceiling was higher over there than it was with us.
So it happened twice. I was fired, and then I resigned. That put the arguments to rest right there. You can't even say nothing with that.
You weren't fired. Your services were terminated.
My contract was definitely with you as well. But it was a beautiful thing. No, I accepted it. But
just to clarify for the audience, it was just Ronnie's equipment.
So it was his vending machines.
If you've been following the pod, these damn vending machines are plaguing me again. Listen, y'all, I have tried to bite off more than I can chew. I'm man enough to admit that on air right now. Between
every hustle doesn't go to success.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yes, between the marketing and kids and life and
behind every success is at least a couple of failures.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't fail at filling Dr. Khan's facility, so I had to make that priority. But you touched on something when I was listening to your opening dialogue.
Ooh, I see you.
You see what I
see you.
there?
I see. Word of the day? Is that a word of the day for you?
Not word of the day, but I definitely read the dictionary knowing we had Dr. Khan on here. And so you talked about the things leading up to people, doing substances, and then things that happened like while they was on substance. What are some of the more prominent things in your profession and in your career as being a psychiatrist? Like, what are some of those things?
Man, like when I first got out of residency down at LSU in Oshner, my first contract, I wanted to work the emergency room down there. They used to have the M here at the old university hospital, and I wanted that contract. They said that they'd give me like 3 days of that if I took 2 days at LCIW, the women's penitentiary.
Ooh.
So I took that to get the other one, but I fell in love with the job in the prison because, man, people that are incarcerated have gone through so much stuff to get to where they are. I mean, there's some people that are probably born bad, but
Right.
but the vast
Most people don't
majority,
wake up on a Tuesday and say, you know what, I want to do something that lands me in a
Right.
prison
right.
system.
I mean, most people are there just because of just some bad circumstances, bad decision in the spur of the moment. And so working with the women, for like, I was there for 3.5 years, I think. I just saw so much trauma. I think I remember there was one lady out of all the women that I interviewed there, in our sessions, that said she had no sexual abuse. Like,
Oh,
I mean, just being a father and a brother and son, you think about like how blessed some of us are
Right.
that, we don't have to hear about that stuff, but the prevalence of abuse, like that's just one thing, like just having all those kind of things happen to you in life and then not turning to drugs seems kind of impossible.
Absolutely.
And so, just that's the thing that stands out to me the most is like, women who are using, who have like horrible trauma happen to them from childhood, and some that don't have it in childhood once they get on drugs. It happens to them in, after or during the usage.
So, and I'll pose this question and without any prejudice on my beliefs. With the state of substance abuse, mental health, and all of the things and all the trauma that happens, and the direction that the treatment industry and the world is going, what is your modality, your approach? And I know it's not a cookie cutter, one size fit all, and it never can be. I guess what do you find is the most successful? Because I mean, you have medical professionals who go to extremes on MAT. You have clinicians, and then even some medical people who don't operate within. Well, they operate because some of them have to.
They have their own ideas.
Yeah. So where do you fall on that
I
spectrum?
believe in a combination of real empathetic care, understanding what the patient's been through, what they're going through, what their emotions are, to tailor an evidence-based treatment approach to that patient. Now, I'm not a MAT prescriber. I mean, I have my license, but like I don't have a MAT clinic or anything like that. But if someone's been using over and over again, overdosing over and over again, has been to, multiple treatment programs, or is refusing to go to one, I'm obviously going to do harm reduction, which is the appropriate thing to do.
Right.
So I'm going to hand that person off at discharge to someone who could do MAT, put them on Suboxone or whatever needs to happen, because they need to make sure. Is that a shout out to the MAT's clinic?
No, I was just saying, that's why
One of Ronnie's many hustles.
that's why that's why we work so good together. You're a guy.
No, right. No, so people, like, I try and get people what they absolutely need, whether it's through me or not.
Right.
Right. Like, if it's something that I don't do, I'm going to send you to someone who does it. So that's the thing. Like, if someone is going to die if they keep using, then I'll send them to MAT, preferably a residential that offers MAT, because like I tell my patients, it's not that any treatment program is going to tell you this magical thing that's going to immediately say, you know what, I'm never using again.
Right.
It's that time, right? You need that time. And honestly, like, I kind of think, like, you had brought up Obamacare or whatever before, but I think insurance coverage is, it's helpful that now we can send almost everybody to treatment. That's great. That's wonderful. That's the positive. The negative is that we've kind of tuned down to that 28 days.
You talk about that.
And that 28 days for most people with serious substance abuse is just not enough. You know, it's
Don't
like
get him started, Doc. Please don't get him
it takes
started.
months
So
to reprogram a brain.
my first treatment experience was in 2013, and I was in residential treatment for 69 days, and it still probably wasn't enough.
Maybe not.
And yet we've gotten to the point where, and like you said, I recognize that insurance is a lot more obtainable for a more broader, and it allows us to help people or help more people that might not have been able to get the care or the expert care. But I still think there can be some really big steps in the middle ground that we can find where they're receiving, longer treatment. And look, because I'll take my moments to really hammer the insurance companies, I will say, like, over the last 6 months, so I operate in substance abuse intensive outpatient level of care. And I don't know what your experience has been with this, but we have really been getting some really good authorizations over the last 6 months.
Yeah.
And so I will give them a shout out when
That's why I started with the positives. That we're lucky that it's not like the old days where we had a lot of indigent patients.
Right.
Like with Medicaid expansion, so many more people get covered. If they come in without it, we can sign them up for it. That's great. It's a positive. But honestly, like, working within the system and trying to maximize resources for people is kind of, I think, what I see as differentiating my care as from others. It's awesome. Not that I've learned anything that other people don't know. It's not that I'm smarter than anyone else. It's that I've realized that you have to take the rules and you have to maximize what you can get people from it. And so, sending people off to 28 days, bringing them back, encouraging them, come back, do an IOP, at a place like Elevate or Regions, and do IOP as long as you can, go into sober living, don't return to the people, places, and things, get on medications that are going to reduce your anxiety, your depression, your impulsivity, and you might not need to be on them long, but in this acute phase of sobriety, your brain needs help.
Absolutely.
It's been so dependent upon chemicals that you've been putting in your own body. And like you get the patient that comes in and says, I don't want any, medications. I don't want you messing with my brain. I'm like, you've been shooting up heroin and fentanyl
That was me.
directly
That was
into
me.
your veins, and you're crying about a little Prozac?
Yeah, that was
I mean,
me,
come
Doc.
on now.
I was like, I don't want to be on no medicine.
But I talk to people straight up, like I don't I talk to them like human beings.
Yeah.
I talk to them like I would want to be talked to.
Right.
So if they're saying something stupid, I call them out on it.
Yeah.
And I said, this is ridiculous. Just like, look at what you've been doing.
I remember the time I went to treatment where I got sober this time, and I've stayed sober, God allowing, March will make 9 years.
9 years, March 1st.
I remember like you said, I'm putting heroin into my arm every day. And so I go to detox, I get on the Suboxone protocol, or Subutex, I think it was what I was on.
Subutex,
And they put me on, at this point, I can't even remember them all. Not all of them. It wasn't a lot of them, but they put me on a couple of medications, mood, some sleep stuff and everything. And I remember I get out of detox, I move into the community. About 2 days in, I have this epiphany. I have this like great epiphany that I'm going to go to the doctor and I'm like, you know what? I'm refusing all my medications. I don't want to be on anything. And look, stubborn enough, I did do it, and I did pay for it for I didn't sleep for the first week and a half in treatment. But and I'll tell you, even up until probably the last 3 to 4 years, I probably did more harm than I did good in helping because of ignorance and closed-mindedness to the medications, right? Because, like you said, I am fortunate. I didn't experience, abuse. I don't have clinical depression. I don't really suffer with anxiety, like overwhelming anxiety. Of course, as a human, I have anxiety and I have depressive moments, but clinical depression, clinical anxiety, and stuff like that. And so, naive and not doing my research up until probably the last 4 to 5 years, I was that person like, oh, you don't need anything. You don't need anything. When in reality, I didn't get my doctorate. I don't know all that it is.
I mean, there's lots of treatment facilities still, that will be like, well, we don't encourage medications, but you got to realize these are people that have been physically, mentally dependent upon bad chemicals for years, sometimes at this point.
Sometimes decades.
Yeah, bringing them back to equilibrium with some supportive, FDA approved medicines is the compassionate thing to do. And, I'm not saying just like, addictive substances or anything, but there's lots of safe, psychiatric medications that help. Like you need to have sleep. And that's what I tell my patients too. I'm like, if you're gonna relapse, you're probably gonna relapse because you can't sleep
And stress.
That's
It's
gonna be one of the first things. Like you're gonna be up in the middle of the night, and nobody makes good decisions in the middle of the night.
No, not at all. Trust me, I've had 3 kids that way. So, have you seen a higher success rate with people that's open to like letting the doctor do his job, or than people that's resistant and stuck in their ways?
It depends. It depends on their motivations.
Got you.
Some people that are open to medications want too many of them then, and then and then they just want a little something for everything.
Yeah.
And I don't like to over medicate. I don't want them numbed, because the minute that numbness wears off, then they feel everything and they're not equipped for it.
Yep.
See, I think that's the most important thing, and it's one of the things that, as I've grown, recognize the importance of, is doctors like yourself, and there's plenty of them out there who are responsible prescribers, who aren't looking, because, listen, I've seen my fair share of irresponsible prescribers.
It can't be about the money.
It
can't be about volume.
No, I've seen my fair share of them. And we won't get into details of all that, but the important, like, and like you said, I really liked, and I'll probably butcher it from your words, but compassionate care for the human with evidence-based practices.
That's it.
That
The person in front of you has to feel that you care about them.
absolutely.
Right? And it has to be genuine.
Yeah.
I mean, especially like the population that we're talking about right now, they've been on the streets long enough
They can
to be
read through
savvy. They can
anybody.
read through you in a second.
Yep.
If you don't care, they know you don't care.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. So, and I'm only bringing this part up before I ask my questions because I'm gonna announce something live right now. So, anybody that know me and follow my story, I'm a 2-time convicted felon, and so one of my dreams has been to be able to go back to the prisons and talk to people that I feel is just like me, had a few hiccups in life and want to change. So I got a call 2 days ago. I have been cleared to go speak in Angola February 5th at 10 a.m.
Awesome.
So I'm announcing it to the world.
You announced it to the world before you told me?
I told you I was going to get you back.
You announced it to the
told
world
you-
before you announced it to
Told you I
me?
was going to get you back. Now you see how I feel to be told something live on the air? Dude, bro, that was so
I'm
big.
so proud of you,
That
bro.
was so big.
I know.
Yeah, so
That's
my
awesome.
shout out my bro Tubbs, man. D Tubbs, bro. He got me cleared by the warden, man. So they got this program. It's called like New Hope or something like that, and it's like a sober dorm. It's a whole sober community in Angola, and they graduation February 5th, and I'm the featured speaker, man. So
That's good.
I'm super excited about that. So with my question to you, Doc, and I know it'll be hard to answer, but just for the audience, because we talk about all the time the physical effects of drugs. And they see it, the intro to the podcast. We have old pictures of us. What are some of the long-term effects drugs can have on the brain? Because we can't word it like you, and we can't, I just know I went and stole stuff to get it. You know what I mean?
It all depends on what they were using, right? I mean, different chemicals have different effects. But the most important thing is the longer you stay sober, the more healing.
They repair themselves.
To an extent, yeah. Yeah, I mean, you see some people that have been, sober 9 years and, 25 years, and you can't really tell
Right.
that they were putting all this stuff in their system. So, I mean, that's the biggest thing. The longer you're sober, the more your body heals.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily about the damage. We can.
Well, sometimes it's about the damage.
Yeah, I
Like some
know.
of this stuff, like, like
Wet brain can't no
yeah,
matter.
wet brain with alcohol, and meth, long-term use of meth with repeated psychotic episodes.
And
like,
also, I mean,
mojo.
Ooh,
that stuff.
that stuff serious.
I know, messing people up.
That stuff serious.
I will, and maybe it's just the demographic I deal with. I will say that I'm very glad that I haven't seen a lot of mojo use in the last year.
It's gone down a lot with like, the medical card and
Yeah.
all this stuff. And
I think Kratom took its spot.
well, yeah,
It's
I
just
think
another
it's a
gas station high they can get.
Yeah, but it's a
TikTok
different
video
group of
probably
people.
Gone.
by now. That mug is gone.
Yeah.
We said so much. Keep going, Doc. Don't worry about it.
TikTok takes it out when you talk about drugs.
Oh,
yeah.
TikTok sensitive.
Yeah.
I love it, but they sensitive. It's certain
When's
stuff you-
TikTok going away?
It's not. It's not.
It's not.
We staying with you, TikTok.
So
China.
now I'll ask you this because
Family Guy moment. I love it.
it's one of my favorite questions to ask. Our platform is built by the Red Stick, right? So I'm born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Baker, but spent a lot of his time in Baton Rouge, and so like built by the Red Stick is what anybody can be built by something, but the premise of it is instilling hope, overcoming adversity, and explaining a why. Right? Everybody operates within a why. So with your education, with your skills, and with your, experience, what is your why with the community that you deal with and then in Baton Rouge?
Welcome to Elevate, a place for people like you, built by people just like you.
We're committed to helping all elevate from the destruction of addiction.
I hope I would give somebody who's either new in recovery or that's currently struggling with addiction as today can be the last day. That you struggle the last day, that you wonder how you're going to have to chase down that drink, that fix, whatever the case may be for you.
At Elevate, we embody more than treatment. It's about passion, love, understanding, truly being your partner on your path to recovery.
Our staff treats substance abuse and co-occurring mental health disorders with a multidisciplinary approach to best fit our clients' needs. We all just embrace each other. We genuinely care, check up on each other, and it's not an act. You matter. You're more than what you've allowed yourself to assume you were.
When perseverance, hard work, and dedication meets, success happens.
At Elevate, we have a variety of programs to fit our clients' personal needs, such as intensive outpatient, and the aftercare program.
If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, give us a call. Elevate. Do more than recover. Leave a legacy.
Well, like I said, I was born and raised in New Orleans, and came up here about 12, 13 years ago. My why, I guess, is unfortunately or fortunately being born with just a little too much empathy. When I was in training, in school, I'd spend a little too much time talking to the patients. And, when you're on like internal medicine rounds or whatever, the attending would be like, "You're 3 minutes late." I'm like, dude, I was talking to the patient. Like, if you want to talk to patients, you should be a psychiatrist, And then my dad's a psychiatrist.
Okay.
So we grew up, watching, like, he was old school psychiatrist. He still practices, but, back in the day, he was that old school psychiatrist. He had a part-time clinic in our rebuilt garage. So we'd have patients pull up Friday afternoons, Saturday mornings to see him. And it was the same people for years. And, doctors always run late. So he'd be running late, and he'd be, I was a little kid, and he'd be like, run back there, turn on the window unit, unlock the door, so-and-so is coming. And we knew all his patients, this is like pre-HIPAA too, I guess. Open the door, talk to his patients for a little bit, and he's the type of doctor that, if they didn't have money, they'd bring him food, that they cooked, or, fish that they caught, or, whatever that they made. And he wasn't worried about the money either. And the respect that he got, and you could see that, he saw patients for like decades, the same ones, Wow. And so that was a positive, when I was going into medicine, that that having that type of relationship, the type of respect, just trust was important. And so that's kind of how I try and practice is like, I'm not that old yet, I think, but I have patients I've been seeing since before I had kids, and so, and I'm honored by it, and I try and keep it up by treating them exactly as I would want to be treated if I was in their spot. The golden rule. I think it should apply to medicine too.
And so I'm in a cool spot.
beautiful.
It is
That was
beautiful,
beautiful.
but it's even more
That made me-
beautiful because I'm in a cool spot where I've actually gotten to work side by side with Dr. Khan. And I will say this, when I first got sober, I heard his name all the time. And it was never nothing bad. And like now getting to work with him, he's everything is advertising. I'm not just saying it because you're sitting here. I tell Mike that all the time, and like we talk about that all the time. And I know it's not possible, but if we just had at least like 30 doctors, like that, like I think the world
It's
would be
hard,
a better
man. If I
place.
had another one, my life would be easier.
Yeah. And I do. I work closely with another doctor, like Dr. Daigle. I'm just shouting that out. You know what I mean?
He's a good guy.
He is a great guy. The care for patients that you speak on, and that's why I like working side by side with him as well. And it shows in the results. We got like the highest success rate in clients. You know what I'm saying? So. But it goes all the way up to the to the medical director. I just had to throw that out there.
What is it?
The success rate
Where?
at Regions, it's higher than the national average.
Heck yeah.
But that's because we have somebody like that.
Hell yeah.
Seeing the clients and my referral sources, like they always say, is Dr. Khan still there? Okay, cool, we'll send.
Look,
so shout out to you, Doc.
I
Shout out to you.
Yeah, appreciate
I
it.
make it well known. Bigger than me and your relationship, right? So like obviously we have a relationship. So when it comes to like referrals, of course, like you're easy for me to get in contact with.
100%.
But I can stand firm on the fact that if the place you worked did not provide good treatment,
Absolutely.
I would not send them.
I'm
there.
friends
no
with
matter
a lot
how
of people in the
100%.
industry. Like,
Yeah.
we're cool, but I'm not gonna
100%.
send too many to you.
Yeah.
And then that's what people think I send the mic sometimes because like we bros. I'm like, nah, that's not it. It's because I believe in the treatment they do and vice versa.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's, and I don't. How long have you been working in the Baton Rouge substance abuse community, mental health community? So I know you moved down here 13 years. So obviously,
I started, when I first was living here, I wasn't really working here a lot. I was still working out Covington, Mandeville, that area. Because Baton Rouge was supposed to be a temporary thing. And then we just kind of, fell in love with our jobs and where we lived. And
So you was built by the Red Stick.
my programs definitely were.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
You see what I did there?
Yeah, Regions built by the Red Stick. Elemental.
Yep.
Completely
and
built
you brought,
here.
and I know this is completely squirrel moment. We have ADD on this show. You brought up Steven, and I had the pleasure of meeting with him when he was opening Regions, and me and Ronnie have talked about this. He really was one of the purest souls that I'd ever met in my life. And shout
That's
out
when I met him.
Shout out to everything he's built and the people that carry on his message. 'cause
Absolutely.
it's beautiful.
I talk about it on a previous episode. We met him together. We had a lunch with him, and I still till this day go to that. I just had lunch there day before yesterday. Zia's.
Yeah.
Give us a sponsorship.
No, but that's what I tell people is like, I think I'm blessed to not be beholden to corporate interest.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that I've seen, and now we're gonna get up on my platform that my pet peeves.
It's
is
probably
that
similar to mine. If you're going where I
the
think you're
corporate
going.
practice of medicine in this country, it's become about profits. These big capital investment groups buying up things, numbers, EBITDA, raising profits every year. You can say you care about patients all you want, but when it comes down to it, like the numbers are king. And so that's why, I love the fact that I have this small unit that they make money regardless. All these healthcare facilities, any hospital you open is going to make money. It depends on how much you want to make. Are you going to try and squeeze every last dime out of it, every last day out of it? It doesn't sit right with me. like trying to practice that way. And so, like every hospital's got utilization review and stuff, and they're like, they're covered for 3 more days. Yeah, but they got a job. This is an LSU student, needs to get back to class. I'm not going to squeeze out 3 more days just because the insurance is covering it and mess up their life more. They're here because they're in crisis. We've resolved the crisis. It's time for them to go. And vice versa. Patient isn't covered anymore, but they're not well. I don't care what the insurance company's saying. The 2 days here offset the 2 days there, and, we'll be fine. Ronnie will still get paid.
Hey, come on now.
Look. If I had a dollar for every scholarship I've given, or every extra day because they weren't ready, I'd probably be able to scholarship everybody.
Right, and not to make it about one particular place, but this more so about you. When I used to work for Elevate, the first 3 months, he was only a network with one insurance, but he took everybody.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't turn not one person away, and he was driving the van a few times, picking people up. I remember. So they do have those good people in treatment that still, want to see the best for us.
No, it's a business, but you can tell when someone's heart's in the right place.
100%.
And, so
100%.
and it's crazy that you brought that up again, because we were talking to Joy, our last guest, about the exact same thing, is that most places, and you've probably worked at places like this, where patient care and administration is completely at odds and they're just battling. And the most beautiful and successful places that I've ever seen, like you said, a place that's only about the numbers and all that, they can probably see patients and they'll make money and they'll stay there, and because unfortunately there's just so many people that need help.
Right.
But the ones that really create an impact, the ones that really create success, the ones that really create change are the ones where administration and clinical or medical, all of it combine together in unison.
Absolutely.
And they're recognizing, like you said, that at the end of the day, the person sitting in front of us is why everyone, even the owner, originally got in this business. Now, some owners, yes, they get to the point where they're jaded by it and it becomes about the dollar and all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, like, that's why everybody got into this. Because there's, as a psychiatrist, there's probably a different population you could have dealt with. You could, you didn't have to deal with substance abuse. You didn't have to deal with mental health. You probably could have gone into education. Who knows? You seem like a smart guy.
Could have seen kids.
Could have seen kids.
Or old people.
Anything.
Yeah.
But that population, and I brought up the time because we were talking about regions and Elemental and Elevate, and there's other facilities that Ronnie has cultivated beautiful relationships. Matt's Clinic that work well together. We work with Matt's Clinic and stuff, and it reminded me of the first ever episode that we ever did. So the first ever episode was at Elevate's office, recorded on an iPhone like 3 years ago, and the premise of the discussion was unity amongst the providers in the community, because I've been aware and seen sometimes the disconnect between some facilities and whatnot, and they don't want to refer to this, and it's all personalities over principles.
It's not a turf.
It's not, but some people believe it.
I know. I think that's in any industry, but it's sad that it happens. You've got club this treatment, club that treatment. These only refer to them. They only refer to them.
Some don't refer to anybody.
We gotta. I know, but you gotta wind it back. And like I said a little earlier, the main determining factor has to be what's best for that person sitting in front of you. I'll send them anywhere, if there's reasons for them to send them to Woodlake, they go Woodlake. If there's reasons to send them to Avenues, they go to Avenues. If there's need to go far away from town, I'll send them to something in North Louisiana. It's like whatever best fits that patient is where they go, as long as a legit place.
Right.
But
I think that's my favorite thing about being small and just doing what I do, is that I get to, I don't have to make those decisions. I don't have to think about, I could refer this person to, you know, a higher level of care that I also offer, right? Like, I can just work with everybody. I can send like if John Doe gets sent to me from XYZ and they come in and they do their admission and we're like, whoa, we are not equipped because you're displaying some signs of some severe, you know, schizophrenia or mental health stuff. Like, Ronnie's a call away.
No, I keep it small for the same reason, because I don't feel like I can know what's going on with my patients if I have too many. Like, Reasons is a 24-bed facility. I only take care of 15, 16 of them. I've got Dr. Lurie, who's great, who handles the rest, because I felt like when I had all 24, I wasn't able to grasp, you know, everything about each patient and understand fully what's going on and give them that touch. You know, I've had to do it for brief moments when we were between other doctors, but I didn't enjoy it because it was just too overwhelming. Right. So I keep it small. You know, there's doctors that go to multiple facilities and stuff like that. More power to them if that's what they do. But that's why I just keep it to, you know, Regions is the only inpatient that I work with, and Elemental, you know, kind of the same thing. Like we've kept it limited. You know, the numbers we get, you know, sometimes people are like, are you going to grow it? Are you going to open more locations in other cities? I'm like, I wouldn't be there.
Right.
You know, and they're not going to get that same experience.
So you got 3 tracks now at Elemental, right?
5.
5 tracks.
Yeah.
It's been that long since I've been in there filling the machine.
5, man.
Jesus.
See, if you would have kept the machines full, you'd have 2 sites that were killing it.
5 tracks now?
5 tracks. We've got grief and loss. We've got trauma. We've got DBT. And then 2 others.
Any EMDR?
Two of our therapists have been trained now in EMDR, but you can't really do it in a group setting.
Right.
So once they get through, so basically the way I set up Elemental is like a college course in therapy. Whether you've had lots of therapy before or new to it, but are going through some acute, you know, like I really need to just get away and focus on myself. It's all outpatient treatment. You come 3 days a week, 3 hours a day. You know, I set it up. So you get, depending on what you need, you'll get 6 different groups assigned to you, where you're seen by 6 different therapists each week. So, you know, you have your art therapist who'll see you every week in group. You have your, you know, if DBT is what you're in, DBT.
What's DBT?
Dialectical behavioral therapy for borderline personality
People
disorder
like me, we
and
didn't know that.
stuff.
I got you.
I don't think you're a borderline, man.
No, you were saying he didn't know what DBT.
Oh, I thought you said
histrionic, maybe.
Maybe a little histrionic.
Maybe a little histrionic. Definitely not borderline.
Diabolical behavioral transition.
Not
What is
dialectical behavioral therapy. Diabolical. No, but but you know, we've got our core therapists who carry the caseload, who are really, really good at what they do. But I've brought in specialists who are really good. They're out in private practice, and they come in and they do that one group that they're really good at.
Shout out my guy Holger. I see you got Holger.
Yeah, Holger comes by.
That's my dude.
Yeah. Holger does our alumni group.
Okay.
I remember when Holger was an intern at the Grove.
Yeah, at the Grove. That's when I met him as a client. Actually, he was one of the interns.
Yeah,
and then we worked with him at Region.
Yeah, so we've got a former therapist from Star, or she's still at Star, I think, that does our trauma group. It's an all female track. We have Jason Crooks, who's amazing at what he does grief and loss.
Ryan, I think his name.
Ryan is one of our full-time
like
therapists. He's fantastic. Yep. He's one of the ones that's trained in EMDR now.
Okay.
And so you have the option once you finish the program, because EMDR is great, but you have to have the tools to process the trauma that we're going to bring back
absolutely.
up. So once they finish IOP, sometimes if we feel like they're ready to then process and they don't have an existing therapist in the community, you know, they have the option to stay on with one of our EMDR trained therapists. But the main way that Elemental works and is successful is that we work with everybody in town.
Right.
Like, if it's your patient and the patient wants to go back to you, like, we're not going to disrupt that existing relationship. We encourage patients to continue seeing their private therapist if they want, and they don't feel like they're getting too much therapy while in the program. throughout the program. You know, if you have a psychiatrist in town who's prescribing your meds and they want to keep doing it, like the meds are fine, I'll leave it alone and I'll let them do it. And like, I don't take any more straightforward med management outpatient. So it's not like I'm trying to keep people.
So elemental is like a supplemental.
It is supplemental.
That's awesome. Yeah.
We're looking for other mental names if we decide to open other stuff. Supplemental sounds good. But it has to have mental at the end. Yeah. But yeah, so that's the thing. It's like, you know, I want to work with everyone. I have patients, you know, that just seeing them once a month or once every 3 months is not enough, you know, and if I didn't have elemental, I would want to send them to someplace like elemental, you know, kind of tune them up, work on therapy. I've tried to, I mean, therapy is so important. Absolutely. Like, we really underplay the importance of therapy, but without therapy, just with the pills, isn't going to get most people with any significant issues going on to where they need to be.
People in the back. And I talk
I've been
about
doing
that
therapy for the last decade.
since I've been knowing you for sure. And
I got tired of telling people to go to see a therapist, you know, like, well, I called one, I didn't get called back, or, you know, it's like, so finally I was like, you know what, we're just gonna have to do a program where you're gonna be in therapy along with the medication changes if you want to see me.
So I talk about that all, and I don't mean to cut you
go
off,
for it.
but I talk about that all the time. People that look like me, people of color, right? We don't understand. I ain't gonna say we understand the importance. We're ignorant to the importance of therapy because we wasn't taught that way, right? We was religious. We went to church. And so me diving into the world of recovery and learning all that stuff, it was a very scary place for me, both sides, being without the substance and then getting vulnerable and talking to this person I never met about what's going on with me. So, like, as a profession, like, have you seen that disconnect between people of color and treatment?
Absolutely. You should come by. We've got, you know, a lot more Black people coming and seeking therapy, and it's been fantastic to see.
Amazing. I love to hear.
It's fantastic to see.
The same it's been
to see it.
And oftentimes it'll be their first experience with it. Like, they'll be the newbies to it. You know, be like, I've never done anything like this before. And I'll be like, try it out.
That's amazing.
killing it,
bro. That's amazing because it's a lot of like generational trauma.
Absolutely.
I mean, with anybody, you know what I mean. But you know,
but a lot, like, even in like the immigrant communities that I was familiar with growing up, it's like you had bigger problems. Like, feelings weren't, you know, feelings and trauma. That wasn't something that you talked about. You know,
I
like,
was trying not to like get killed going to school and stuff like that. You know, I ain't worrying about like
just trying to survive.
Trying to survive.
Yeah, just trying to.
That's amazing.
So, what would you identify as the main demographic and main, for lack of a better term, candidate for elemental?
18 and up.
18 and up.
Because we're not approved for kids. Like, I think kids takes special extra attention because you're not just treating the kids, you're treating the parents too.
Right.
So I don't treat under 18, but it's, look, what's near and dear to my heart, you know, are first is like the college kids. Okay. You know, like, so many kids mess up freshman year, and, you know, it's like their life is almost gone at that point. You know, they leave college, they're not going to go back to school, or the whole trajectory of their life just changes
like that.
And so I love working with those young people who are maybe struggling, like, you know, the early 18 to the early 20s. If we can shift that trajectory, you know, because I was one of those kids, man. Like, I messed up when I first got out of high school. I graduated high school barely out of being 16. You know, went out of state, things fell apart. I had parents that supported me and figured me out.
16?
Well, I turned 17 like 2 weeks before.
Overachiever.
I graduated barely at 18. And I was about to be 19.
so you know, I feel these kids, and so, like, I'm also the supervising psychiatrist at LSU at Student Health. We've got 2 amazing nurse practitioners over there that are there every day of the week. I go in there usually Wednesday mornings. I didn't have anything this morning, so I came by and hung out with you.
Being modest, he really canceled on y'all so he could be here with us because that's how important we are to him.
I wouldn't cancel on the kids.
Yeah, that's right.
Actually, young adults, but that's probably like one particular area of focus. The other ones are regular everyday working folks, you know, like, just for some reason, sometimes, you know, like, our brain says it just doesn't want to do what we've been doing all along. And because just imagine, like, if you lose your job, what else follows at that point? Like, you can't work because your anxiety's so bad, you can't get out of bed because your depression's so bad. Your life completely falls apart. Your partner will probably
Bills don't
leave. The kids
stop.
you can't see. You can't pay the bills. I mean, everything starts snowballing.
Yep.
And it's not like the stress gets any better. And so what we do is we're starting to work with more and more of these bigger companies and their unions and kind of be like, look, if you've got a member that's struggling, do you just want to lose them and have to train a brand new person for that role? Or do you want to salvage the person that's been working for you for 12 years, 18 years, 22 years? Like I see these people that work for big companies that,
great track records. They just
things fell apart. Their mom died or their partner died or, their kid's going through some stuff and they're just overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And so what we do is we take that 6 to 8 week program, we, build them back and we get them at their best and we get them back to work and they can continue being productive. And so that's a specific, area of focus that we're going after is to make sure that, these companies know that there are options. Like we can help your people, be productive and get back to being the great worker that made you keep them for 15 years.
Yep. And 6 to 8 weeks out of your life, it seems like a lot, but that's nothing compared to a lifetime of happiness.
Especially with things like short-term disability and
Right,
FMLA, we take care of that because we know that, and you have to meet criteria. You have to be having that dysfunction. But no, I mean, it's been fantastic to see. Like we have a over 90% completion rate of people that start elementals IOP.
That's awesome.
They don't want to leave.
That's high. Yeah. Speaking of disability, what insurances are accepted at?
We take all of the commercial insurance.
All commercial and private
We're
pay
not
only.
on TRICARE yet.
Okay.
It's been a little difficult. If
No
anyone from
Medicaid.
TRICARE is watching, I mean,
Hit him a man up.
but we have one of the VA community care plans even. We've got Blue Cross Blue Shield,
Okay.
Aetna commercial. We're in Cigna commercial sometime this week.
Congratulations.
And
major.
am I missing something? The LSU First.
What about Aetna commercial?
Aetna commercial.
UHC.
UHC, all of the
Okay,
Optum
okay.
United commercial
And
plans.
so if I'm somebody that don't want to run it on my insurance and I just want to pay out of pocket because I'm a little more fortunate than others, how much would that run?
I'm not in it for the money, but we'll take the cash.
So how much would that set me back?
I don't know. I keep it separate. Like I've got management to
Gotcha.
handle the money. I have no idea.
So
I don't
we need to get with
interfere.
Roxanne and
Get with Roxanne.
Get with Roxanne. Shout out Roxanne.
Yeah.
See, I know everybody in there. I just, I dropped the ball. There's some great people there.
Yeah, I stay away from the money.
That's good. You can give it to me. I'll take care of it for you. I got you.
I'll ask Mark.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry. I forgot you got him. I'm tripping. Great with numbers.
As someone who's been dealing in this community for the better part of a decade, 2 parts. A, what do you think the best stride has been in how, as a society, we address mental health? And B, 10, 15 years from now, where would you hope that this industry or that the treatment of mental health is? Because for a long time, it was a taboo. We didn't talk about it. It was brushed under the rug. Yeah. We only thought about it as the guy under the bridge with a brown paper bag. We didn't think about it as your everyday worker.
No, we didn't. Man, the best stride is hard without sounding arrogant. Because I really, really do think that Regions was a huge stride. Because I've worked at almost all of the places.
Hype them up.
And there, there's good things about various places, but I mean, like you said earlier, man, honestly, if any one of your family members had to go inpatient to psych, you can ask the people in the emergency rooms that see psych every day. They're going to send their loved ones to Regions, right? I mean, there's no other inpatient facility, and it's not because of me, solo. It's not just because of me. It's because of the facility. It's because of the staff. It's because of the culture, and because of the care that they get while they're there. That was a huge stride for the community. I wish every city had a Regions-like facility.
Well, you and Mark get together and start.
I can't think. Look, honestly, you're built by the Red Stick, right? Like, I'm just worried about. I realized a long time ago. I stopped watching the national news and all that stuff. I can't worry about that because I can't do anything about that.
Right.
So my circle of responsibility, I'm just limiting to this area.
So if
Man
you
after
want to
my own
open
heart.
up more regions, I'll do it. Right, I'll put the people in there, and you just text me and tell me what to tell the patients. That way you ain't got to see that minute.
I'm right there with you. So like, I have and I've known many of friends who could not leave Baton Rouge fast enough. They couldn't leave Baton Rouge fast enough. LSU, for example, they always talk about it. A huge percent of LSU graduates move out of Baton Rouge and the state of Louisiana after graduating and take their degree to Texas and surrounding states and stuff. When I was laid off from the previous facility and really started building my business plan for Elevate and wanting to do that, like you said, that was the community. That was
That's
what I
the
was raised in.
problem. And that's why, I mentioned earlier, I'd love to have another doctor. People aren't staying, and that's a state problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? And if we need to focus on education, we need to have jobs. There's some things that they'll do right in Louisiana. Being born and raised in the state, I'd love for us to be more successful, but we need to start looking at what some of these other states like Texas are doing. They're exploding. Everyone I know is moving to Texas.
They pay more.
Like Austin,
It's not,
Dallas.
but they have the ability to pay more
Right.
because of lawmakers and influence
Okay.
creating
deeper then.
policies
Get
and
deeper.
creating.
We're worried about stupid stuff. They
deeper.
spend half the time in the legislature, feels like, arguing about like transsexuals and stuff. It's like, man, let people live how they want to live,
They
man.
spent
Or
a bunch of time in legislation trying to pass a law for us to be younger to carry guns
Yeah.
because we don't have a high enough
mean,
gun problem.
abortion, gay rights. I mean, those should be individual questions and rights. Like, why are we like just focusing all of our energies as a state? What we need to focus on is education, healthcare,
Infrastructure.
the infrastructure for sure, drawing big businesses to our state. Closed-minded policies make big companies not want to come here. I'm not a finance guy, but it seems like, I think Texas and Florida with the state income taxes and stuff, do stuff like that. Do stuff what's working for other states. Like, let's get more people here. I'd love to be here for the rest of my life. We got a little family cemetery out in Slidell. I think I got a plot reserved. I'd love to be here till that happens. It's like I'd love for my kids to want to stay close. So I don't have to fly and see them when I'm an old man.
Yeah.
But they gotta have those jobs. They gotta have infrastructure for them to stay.
So Mike just alluded to it. Mike was born in Baton Rouge. He made his business plan for Elevate. He wanted to help the community. This is the same city he terrorized, or the same city he wanted to help. Same with me. I was here. I did my dirt here. I was on the streets of Baton Rouge, and I want to help my community. Being born in New Orleans, you moved to Baton Rouge. What was that thing that it was like, what? Baton Rouge needs me. Like, this is where I'm going to settle and do it.
It's a hard question to answer because I think the when it comes to personal life, it's smaller things that make you make those decisions, right?
Right.
My wife was happy in her job.
Okay.
We liked our house. Our kids had started here. Honestly, New Orleans, the crime just kept getting worse. Every time we drove back there and the infrastructure was falling apart. Every time we drove back down to visit my parents and my siblings, it was like, this is going in the wrong direction.
Right.
At least in Baton Rouge, we see growth. We see neighborhoods being built. We see new schools coming up. We see new businesses opening up. In New Orleans, it just felt like it was like the same old strip clubs with one or two less, strip malls with one or two less, businesses in them.
I'm with it.
And or buildings being torn down, and so it was just looking at long-term prognosis, that this felt like I wasn't going to go far. My parents are down there. I've got a huge extended family in New Orleans. My siblings are all there, but this allowed me to just feel like I was in a little better of a place.
We love to hear it. Yeah. We accept you, Doc, with open arms. We've adopted you as our own. And your siblings are doctors as well, correct?
All of them.
The whole family. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I mean? My mom and them, they mad at it. I was on drugs. I'm the only one messed it up.
But my dad set a good example for us. Right?
Yeah.
We saw the respect that he got, the financial security that he had, the interactions that he had with his patients. We all saw it growing up. And so I think that led us to want to be like that. I mean, who doesn't want a life where people love and respect and trust you?
Yeah, and my dad set a good example too. I ain't mean it like that. I just chose, my path was different. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well,
unfortunately,
man, our time has drawn to an end.
Dang, but we'll never get to see Doc again, bro. The best 45 minutes of my life.
You can see me every day.
That's right.
Yeah.
Talk your talk.
Once again, we appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
We appreciate your input. If anybody is looking for any services that they heard about from Dr. Khan and or Ronnie, you can if you want to go to Regions for a little inpatient, then you're at that point, call Ronnie.
Call me.
You can call me. I'll get you in touch with Ronnie, but go straight to the stores. If you're at that point in life and maybe just need a little tweak and you qualify, go visit Dr. Khan at Elemental
Elemental Health.
On Goodwood Boulevard.
And then he also
right
has
across from the main
his
library.
private practice, Khan Psychiatry.
I'm not taking new patients there because I'm spending all my time with Regions and Elemental.
You should have been, got diagnosed. You missed out on a great opportunity.
A certain amount of hours in a day.
Yeah, that's right.
And listen, I want to remind y'all, Built by the Red Stick merch is out.
What?
Built by the, we got LSU.
LSU? Shout out LSU. Dun, 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 dun.
We got the SU.
Let me tell you about the Southern University.
And we got the BRCC.
I don't know what their song is, but
the Bears.
Go Bears.
You can find them on our TikTok link tree.
Yep.
You can email us.
You message us.
You can message us.
Text us.
Don't miss out on your chance to have a Built by the Red Stick shirt. We love y'all, and as always, I'm going to throw it to the guy.
Man, look, we want to thank Dr. Khan again for coming and sharing this special, intimate space with us. Like y'all heard, mental health matters. It's real. It's very prevalent for people that look like me, for people that live like me, and, just humans, period. Don't wait. Get your diagnosis today. You deserve to live a better life. You deserve to be a great father, mother, sister, brother, auntie, all that good stuff. And look, we just appreciate y'all. We see y'all. We love y'all. We love to love y'all. And if you're struggling, allow us to love you until you can love yourself. As always, we'll be back at the same time, at the same place, with the same producer. Built by the Red Stick, baby. Built by adversity, led by courage.
We love y'all.